well, this story is a little interesting. Senator Tim Scott and other Republicans on Capitol Hill and nationally lauded the conviction of Derek Chauvin for the murder of George Floyd on Tuesday, saying that the verdict proved the strength of the American judicial system. We'll be right back after this message, then we'll get more into detail. I want to talk a little bit about a new affiliate, Nagast Footwear. They are a Black-owned company that makes some of the best quality shoes, clothes, and hats that I've seen in a very long time. They are designed to empower customers and to teach self-love, self-respect, and self-confidence. I've purchased some of their footwear, and they have lasted me well over a year. Nagast Footwear makes sneakers, running shoes, slippers, boots, hats, and clothing. I love my slippers. I love my sneakers. Even game show contestants love my sneakers. Click my affiliate link below to visit their site to browse and to shop. Every purchase helps me grow this platform. Chauvin was convicted on all counts Tuesday afternoon, nearly 11 months after video showed the former Minneapolis police officer kneeling on Floyd's neck for several minutes as Floyd repeatedly said he was struggling to breathe. A masked Derek Chauvin showed no visible emotion as Judge Peter Cahill read the guilty verdict on each count. Cahill said sentencing would be in roughly 8 weeks. Floyd's death stirred worldwide protests against racism after the video showed Chauvin pinning Floyd to the ground with his knee on his neck. This entire trial has been marred by political bickering when it should be about right versus wrong. There are some who prefer to bring up George Floyd's past while ignoring the history of many of the politicians they vote for. I'm not surprised. This type of division has been brainwashing people for decades, and unfortunately they lack the intelligence to view one another as human beings. These people only have the power you give to them. If you start thinking for yourselves and stop allowing the media and government to influence you, perhaps we will finally be able to find people to vote for who will actually give a damn about us. Some Republicans even agree with the outcome. Governor Larry Hogan said, "The senseless murder of George Floyd served as yet another reminder that we still have a long way to go to live up to our nation's highest ideals. Justice has now been served, and we hope that this verdict will bring some measure of peace to the Floyd family and the community." Alabama Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville said the conviction was the result of strong American institutions. And just when you think nothing negative should be said about any of this, Fox News decided this is the best time to attack George Floyd. And who does a great job kicking Black people when they're down? Candace Owens.
Candace Owens, you'd think in a country like ours, this is the most first world country that's ever been. You'd think the most civilized and the most just. Here you have to consider a murder case through the lens of politics. When you get to that point, haven't you already given up civilization?
Well, that's correct. And what we're really seeing is mob justice. And that's really what happened with this entire trial. This was not a trial about George Floyd or Derek Chauvin. This was a trial about whether the media was powerful enough to create a simulation and decide upon a narrative absent any facts. Whether it was powerful enough to repeat showing and talking about a 9-minute clip that came from somebody's cell phone without adding any context, without showing the full police video, which they could have released. They refused to release the full body cam, which would have added more clarity to the fact that the media was lying. The media came out. Let's not forget this, Tucker. The media came out and told us that this was a man who was just getting his life together. He was a good member of society, and he got mixed up because a racist white police officer had it out for him and killed him. All of that fell apart. All of the facts came out and all of that fell apart. We now know, of course, that he had enough fentanyl in him. It was 3 times the lethal dosage, 3 times lethal dosage in him when he died. But nobody cares because the media was successful in putting out a narrative and they kept hitting that narrative. And the reason why the Democrats are happy is because they realize, of course, the media supports them. And now means the Democrats can get whatever they want because they can create a narrative and then they can treat people like pawns and get them to basically say, if we don't get what we want, we will riot, we will loot, we will send these people out like soldiers to destroy your neighborhoods. And that is exactly what has happened. That has been the determination of this trial. The media and the Democrats now have enough power to bully and to lie to and to create propaganda and to successfully win. And that is what happened. And they are celebrating that win today. This was not a fair trial.
Only one side.
No person can say this was a fair trial.
You just got to take 3 steps back and acknowledge that only one side behaves this way. I mean, a jury in 1995 concluded that O.J. Simpson, despite DNA evidence, hadn't murdered 2 people, and there were no riots. But more to the point, there are a lot of people sitting behind, Trump voters sitting behind bars right now, have been for months, charged effectively with trespassing. We're not speculating. We've seen the charges. No Republican in the Congress stands up for them. Nobody mentions that. Nobody, is for prison reform when it's their political enemies. That's not equal justice, but nobody says it. Why is that?
Because we have 2 pandemics going on right now. There's a pandemic of ignorance in this country, and that is only allowed to fly because we also have a pandemic of cowardice in this country. Okay? So we have people that are purposefully putting out a bunch of ignorant claims, and then we have people that are too cowardly to stand up and say, you know what, this is wrong. There has been so much that has been going on in this country that is wrong. You talk about it, I talk about it, but we do not have people that are sitting in Congress that are willing to take this fight where it needs to be taken. By the way, you bring up Maxine Waters inciting violence. I'm so old, Tucker, that I remember when a man said, march peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol, and that was considered an incite to violence, right? That was like, oh my God, stop the press, get this person disappeared from social media because he is calling for violence. Look at what Maxine Waters says. No one in the media is condemning these remarks. That same media that condemned Trump and his supporters for weeks on end is now defending Maxine Waters. And we both know this is not the first time that Maxine Waters has incited violence. Don't forget, rush down. If you see a Trump supporter, you got to rush them down in the restaurants. They're allowed to do this. They play by a different set of rules, but it's because we allow them to play with that different set of rules. They get away with virtually everything because we don't have strong people on our side that are willing to stand up. And that it's a sad conclusion. It really is so frustrating. And the idea of martyring George Floyd, the way Nancy Pelosi spoke about him, it completely forgives all of the trauma that he brought against his victims while he was alive. A man that served 7+ stints in prison while he was alive, armed robbery being 2 of the reasons why. And now we're going to martyr him and say that your name will forever be synonymous with justice. Imagine, Tucker, if you are one of his victims that is alive, one of his victims that he armed robbed, and you have to hear that this man's name will always be synonymous with justice. How would that feel to you? I feel like we are living in fiction right now in America. We are losing this country and we are living in fiction because people are not strong enough to call out this stuff. And I feel like I'm one of the only ones who has the courage to say I will not be mobbed into a different reality.
It really is concerning that people are so easily influenced by watching these news outlets. All of them are guilty. But I thought America was more intelligent than this.
Now, like I said, Mr. Floyd was brought under control. What should have happened at that point is EMS should have been summoned, and he should have been placed in an ambulance. And a supervisor should have been called to the scene. I just think that it was excessive, and it shouldn't happen. And what I'd like to say,
the guy who did it looks like he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison. So I'm kind of more worried about the rest of the country, which, thanks to police inaction, in case you haven't noticed, is like boarded up. So that's more my concern. But I appreciate you coming on, Ed Gavin. Thank you. Nope, done. Thank you.
You all are doomed to follow the lead of people who want nothing more than to divide you all so they can grab ratings, which equals more money. It always comes back to money. If you follow the money, you will find the corruption. The sooner all of you realize that these millionaires you vote for don't care about helping you make ends meet, the quicker we can all come together in unity. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Click the notification bell so you'll be notified when we upload new videos. Find The Awakening Frequency on Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook. Research is key. Always do your own research and never just listen to what people tell you. We are The Awakening Frequency. Out of the millions of potential subscribers, we just want to reach one so each one can teach one. Peace.